we're going to emphasize leg lock attacks. That's not the only thing we're going to look at, because I think if you're just looking for leg locks, it can become a lot easier for them to stop you, but we're obviously going to emphasize leg locks. So if Toom is standing in front of me, one of the main things, this leg going this leg back, one of the main things I want to start to focus on today when we're thinking about attacking leg locks from the bottom position is we're looking for one of three main types of attacks, okay? We're going to look to either get some variation of standard Ashi garami, or like, I'm sure a lot of you guys call this single leg X. Okay, there's one type of attack. That involves obviously going straight through inside position, okay? You guys all definitely know that, right? The other type of attack that we're going to look at involves coming to the outside with one leg, putting pressure to the back of the knee, and coming to a backside 50-50, or in some cases, a far hip Ashi. We're going to look more at backside 50-50 rather than far hip Ashi. But those, the main thing with them is we're coming to the outside and putting pressure to the back of the knee. That's going to bring the heel off the mat and going to give us an opportunity to explode the heel. Okay? And then the third type is going to be some variation of Kani Basami, okay? Where we scissor our legs. One leg goes inside, one leg goes outside. So you have one type of entry is purely inside, one type of entry is purely outside, one type of entry is half and half. Okay? So we'll get started with, let's get started with like a really, really basic one. Okay? So Toom's going to be on one knee. So and this leg will be up. So in front of someone like this, what I want you guys to do is take your left hand, grab the calf, and go a strong shin on shin. All right, now with this hand, we're going to reach for the other leg. We have to be careful when we do this, because if we feel him reaching for our wrist with his left hand, we know that a Kimura is coming, so we want to retract back and not give him that. But this is good because if I, when I fall to go for the shin on shin, if I don't grab that, it becomes a lot harder for me to control what's going on. So I want to hold this if I can. So I go here, I shoot my left leg through, but keep my right knee tight to my shoulder, so obviously I'll get mounted. And now I'm going to come to a bottom Ashi garami, okay? So one more time. Super, super basic. We're here, you grab the calf, we're going to reach for that secondary leg, try to grip behind the knee if you can. You fall to your right hip, okay? See how I'm not going straight back? It's really, really difficult to get it if I do that. So I fall to my right hip, shoot the left leg through, and we come to this standard Ashi garami like so. Okay, make sense, guys?
Yep.
Let's get started. 1, 2, 3. Guys, circle up, circle up. And two, let me use you. Alright, so something that was happening with a lot of you guys, and it's not wrong at all, it's actually an important concept that we cover, is that a lot of the time what was happening is the guy attacking was going through, and then the guy being attacked was falling down. Okay, so there's a specific, usually they'll turn this way, yeah. So if they turn, fall down into that way. If they fall down into this way, they're just giving you a no hook, so this is definitely not something you should do. But if he falls down that way, there is actually, so stay right here, there is a reason for him to do that, okay? So here, look at the back of his knee. Okay, it's very, very close to the floor. Okay? There's not a lot of space behind the back of his knee. One of the main defensive reactions you're going to see when you attack leg locks against a standing opponent, so come up to this knee, is they're going to, don't do this yet, they're going to put their hips on the mat. So right now there's a lot of space behind the back of Toom's knee. Okay? Remember, that's one of the three main ways we can attack people with leg locks on the bottom. For instance, here in a four-hip Ashi, I'm putting pressure to the back of his knee, and that gives me heel exposure, okay? So what people will do, this is not the only way he can defend, but a very common defensive reaction is he doesn't want all that space behind the back of his knee. Okay, so what he's going to do is he's going to put a surface behind it, and that surface is going to be the floor. Now here, if I go to do that, it's really, really hard for me to turn him in the same way. It's definitely not impossible here, but it's pretty hard. Okay, whereas my contrast, if he's upright, it's so much easier to like curl your heels and turn him and gain heel exposure, again, by putting pressure to the back of the knee. Okay, so that's why, you know, people will instinctively put their hips down to the mat. Okay, but for now, let's just assume that the guy is not going to do that. We're going to deal with what happens if he does put his hips down to the mat later on. But for now, like I said, let's assume he doesn't. All right. So for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my left foot, I'm gonna pummel right here, okay? Now I'm gonna take my right foot, and I'm gonna take it to the outside, and I'm gonna point my toes, and turn the back of my knee to face into his hips. Okay, we're not doing this. If I do this, I'm gonna give him the opportunity to get a counter heel. Okay, I point my toes, and I turn the back of my knee into his hips. Okay, this will hide my heel, so when he goes to gain heel exposure, it's not available. Okay, so now I take this left leg out, and I cross my legs. Okay, now from here, I'm gonna take my right hand, I go underneath. Okay, now my left hand is gonna windshield wiper underneath. Now I have both arms underneath. My left hand grabs the knee, like the top of the knee. I lift my hips up. My right hand is gonna grab the toes. And then my left hand pushes. And I gain, stay upright. I gain a 50-50 on the bottom. Okay, so one more time. So we punch through to a standard Ashi garami. I take my left foot, I pummel here. My right foot comes to the outside. I don't just, this is really, really important, guys. I don't just take it to the outside. Okay, if I do that, he can heel up. Okay, we're doing this sequence in a way that keeps us safe as we go through it. Okay, like, I'm gonna talk in a second, why am I putting this foot here? Okay, there's a specific reason it's going there. It's to keep me safe from a counter, but we'll come back to that in a second. For now, focus on the back of my knee, faces into his hips, and I point my toes. I mean, you don't even have to necessarily point your toes. You can get away with doing this. But pointing your toes is just gonna make it even harder for him to counter you. Okay, it's gonna be really, really hard for him to gain heel exposure. Now I take my left leg out, and I cross my ankles together. Here, take my right arm, I go underneath. Okay, my left arm also goes underneath. The purpose of this is now it's really difficult for Toom to put weight on this foot. Okay, I can lift my hips up, and the foot is weightless. Okay, if I'm here and I try to pass it off, like you might be able to get it, you might be able to lift your hips up and pull it over, but you can put a lot of weight on this foot here, and now I'm like, oh my god, damn, that's so hard. So if I go here, it's very easy for me to create a weightless foot, and I can pass it off to the other side. Okay, let's talk about that one last detail. Why am I taking my left leg and doing this? What you might be thinking to yourself is, why not just do this? Right? Well, the reason is, right now my left foot is vulnerable to an Aoki lock. The only thing keeping me safe from it right now is my right knee. When this comes off, Toom can take that up. Yeah, nice, Michael. He can take his hands together in like a rear naked grip, and he has a very dangerous lock here. Okay, if you guys don't know, this is called an Aoki lock. Don't worry about it. Like knowing how to apply it right now, just know that it is there. If this heel is dangling like this by itself, he can reach through and take an Aoki lock, and it's very, very strong. It's basically gonna simulate a heel hook. Okay, it attacks the knee. Right. So what we want to do is we tuck this in first. Okay. Now there's no counter leg locks. Maybe we'll punch my knee, but that's illegal in jiu-jitsu. So then we're gonna take our right leg to the outside. We point our toes and we point the back of our knee at his hips. Okay. This is super, super key, guys. Don't do this. This is really, really bad. Kenan Duarte was in basically this exact situation against Cyborg in Brazil a little while ago. And I don't remember the exact sequence, but they were like something like this. And then Kenan got caught, Cyborg back elbow, and he just caught his heel right here. And it was a really, really nice finish. Okay, you've got to make sure that you're pointing the back of your knee into his hips. Now your left leg can come out, and you go here. Right now we're in a bottom outside Ashi. I want to make sure, like, look at where my right leg is. This is basically a leg drag, right? So the bottom outside Ashi is a really good position because it's going to give you the opportunity to pass off to a 50-50. But the weakness is, if he comes towards me and smashes me here, this is basically a leg drag. See, like, now he can pass off to the side of my body, and there's a pass. What we've got to do is make sure right away that when we're here, we're doing some kind of, like, off-balancing, some kind of attack. And the off-balance I want you guys to do here involves taking both your arms underneath this leg and making this leg weightless. Now when he drives into me, I can lift my hips up and pass off to this 50-50, where now it's really hard for him. Like, this is no longer like a leg drag type situation. Do you guys get what I'm talking about? Whereas here, if you put this like back here, this is essentially a leg drag, right? And now I'm getting smashed and passed. So we want to make sure we remedy that as soon as possible by getting the leg over here, by making this leg weightless. Okay, does that make sense, guys? All right, let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3. over a different attack that we can utilize from the standard Ashi garami. So, what's your name? Ward. Yeah. Okay, Rob. Sorry, I put this pronunciation. So we come through to the standard Ashi. Just come up a little bit more upright, please. So the next attack we're going to do is going to involve when the knee is turned slightly this way. Okay. I'm going to take my left leg. I'm going to go over the top. Now I'm going to take my right leg. I'm going to come out. I'm going to cross my ankles. Now I pinch my knees. I lift my hips. And I turn my knees down as a single unit in this direction. Okay? What that does is it enables me to put pressure to the back of the knee and expose the heel. Okay? Now what I want you guys to do when we gain this heel exposure opportunity here, don't just like grab and expect to finish right away. Okay, that might work if they're not that good, but let's focus first on controlling and then we're going to lead to the finish. So I want you guys to first take what we call a false grip. Okay, where see how the palm of my hand is facing into his ankle, like this side of my hand, right? Faces into his ankle. This side of my arm, okay, the wrist, is better for finishing. When we get to time to finish, this is what we want. But it's more likely to slip when we hold on to it, okay? This part of my arm is much less likely to slip off, okay? It's much harder for like it to slip off like this. So we hold like this, and I want you to take the palm and bring it back into the heel. So my elbow is really far back. That's really gonna mitigate the slip. Like the slip is gonna be very unlikely here. Now what we're gonna do is take this arm, okay? We're gonna do two things with it, depending on how far we are in the roll. First, it's gonna stay tight, because I wanna be able to roll this way, so roll really, really slow. So we roll this way, and now, right about here, I'm gonna grab the back of the knee. This is kind of hard to see, guys, but you can see what I'm doing with my right hand. Wait, come back just a step. So don't do this. If I do this at the outset, when I go to roll, it's really awkward, like you're rolling over your shoulder, okay? You guys are it might look difficult to understand what I'm saying right now, but when you do it, you're gonna understand. You keep the elbow tight, then I catch, so that the roll is fluid, okay? So stay right here. So, actually, you can just square up. Guys, think about it. If I'm rolling on the mat, do I wanna roll like this? No, I wanna roll like this, right? It's easier to roll because everything is together in one unit. Right? If I roll like this, it's very, very awkward. So again, we're here. We're able to put pressure to the back of the knee. What I want you guys to focus on is connecting at the ankles, pinching the knees, and lifting the hips. Okay? Then we turn our knees down together. Okay? Now I catch the heel. Okay, now I tuck my elbow in. As I roll, I'm gonna catch the knee and keep going very slow. As my forehead comes to the floor, I want to crunch my chest in. So keep going all the way. I crunch my chest in so that I land and there's a bend in the leg. Okay? So with this bend in the leg, I'm going to have the opportunity to actually finish the heel hook effectively. If the leg is straight, this is really, really hard to finish the heel hook. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very difficult. Okay? Let's go again. I come through here, punch through, ankles crossed. Pinch the knees, lift the hips. Turn the knees down together. First we catch with a false grip, okay? This elbow is very, very key. It comes into my hip. And what's gonna happen is as you roll, you're gonna gain an opportunity to grasp the back of the knee, okay? Now, when my forehead faces down into the floor, what I want you guys to focus on is chest compressing. We don't wanna extend our chest, okay? Because then if we extend our chest as we roll, we land, see how straight his leg is? That's no good. And it's really hard to rebend a leg. Like it's with an outside heel hook. It's easier with an inside heel hook, but with an outside heel hook, it's really, really hard to be honest, okay? So what we want to do is make sure that we land with a bend in place. So we're here. Again, guys, pinch knees, okay? If I have like a deep triangle, I can't pinch my knees as well. It's like, guys, think about it. It's just like an arm bar, right? When you're doing an arm bar, you want your knees to be pretty parallel, right? So when you pinch, your hips are much stronger. Okay, now I can lift. Okay, now I turn down, and you catch. Remember, guys, don't do this. See how the heel's in my bicep? That's no good. You want the heel tight like this. Okay, think about it as if you're grabbing, in the US we call this a football grip. I don't know what you guys would call this here, but whatever sport involves grabbing a ball like this. So, or a false grip, right? So you're grabbing like this, right? Now, this arm, I'm gonna tuck it in. I'm gonna catch the back of the knee, and now I'm gonna compress my chest in so that as we roll, and I'm also pulling at the back of his knee, guys. That's also key. I'm compressing my chest in, and I'm pulling at the back of his knee here, and then we land in a really good outside Ashi position, ready to finish, okay? So let's just rotate this way. So just go back down. Yeah, just sit down. I'm just gonna show the finish now. Yeah, sit down on your butt. Yep, all the way. All right, so guys, let's go over the finish now for the heel hook, okay? So just bend your leg for me. Okay, we're gonna go over one type of braking mechanics here. There's two main types. The one we're gonna do here is, I think, the more difficult one and the one you should learn first. Okay, so we wanna make sure that there's a good bend in the leg, and the main reason for that is that to actually effectively break his leg here, we wanna put pressure to the top of his thigh. Again, there's two main types of braking mechanics: lateral or rotational braking mechanics. You can tell which you have the opportunity to use depending upon which part of his leg your hips are facing into. So right now my hips are facing into the side of his knee, okay? They're not facing into the back, okay? See how my hips face like straight into the back of his knee? That would indicate to me that I would need to use rotational braking mechanics, okay? We'll talk about those later on. For now, my hips are facing into the side of the knee, okay? So we're gonna use lateral braking mechanics, okay? Lateral braking mechanics involve putting pressure to the top of the knee. I'm gonna do that by compressing my leg down, okay? And then I'm gonna draw his heel over my far shoulder. What we're not doing is just rotating side to side, okay? This is subtle, guys. I'm not just rotating side to side, I'm pulling over the far shoulder, okay? So it's different than, like, you see how side to side I'm just going that way? Okay, that's gonna encourage him to twist and start to escape. That's not what we want, okay? What I want is to pull over that shoulder as I compress this leg down, and I give a slight bridge in. Okay, so I'm pulling over this shoulder. Okay, the actual grip I want you guys to use is like so, where we go. This grip is going to change depending upon how long your arms are. Okay, so I'm going to show the type of grip that you would do if you have short arms like me, and then I'll describe if you have longer arms, which you might be able to pull off. So if you've got short arms like me, take your thumb, point it at your face. Okay, make sure your wrist is tight to his heel and your elbow is back. Okay, you don't want your elbow out here. Your elbow is back into your hip and your thumb is pointing into your chin. Okay, now take this hand, go underneath and grip, and try to have it be the case that this is over his shin. Okay, we don't want this. Can you still finish this? Yeah, of course you can, right? But this is gonna be tighter. So we're here, and now we crunch everything in, and we very slight bridge. You don't need to bridge really, really hard. You bridge in and you compress down with this, and then you draw over this shoulder. Okay, so one more time, guys. So the grip, the thumb is pointing at my chin, and the elbow is back. The wrist is to his heel. Okay, not doing this. You guys see this? Okay, this is bad because now there's a high chance of a slip occurring. Okay, does that make sense, guys? We want it to be tight. Now there's a much lower chance of a slip. Okay, so and also take a look, guys. I'm not in a deep triangle. I want to put pressure to the top of his thigh, close to his knee. I don't want the pressure to be low towards his hip. Ideally, it's close to the knee. Okay. Now, guys, if you've got really long arms, which you might be able to pull off, I can't because I don't, is your wrist facing into your chin with this on the shin. If you can do that, if you can succeed at that, definitely do that. I think that's probably a better overall grip, but I can't, there's no way I can have this over the shin and my wrist facing my chin. So I settle for my thumb. Okay, but never settle for this. This is really bad. This is not strong at all. You want to have this, okay? And now, take everything and bring it towards his ankle, like your shoulders and your chin and everything, right? And now, we're gonna bridge in. I'm gonna draw over my right shoulder, that's my far shoulder, and I'm gonna compress down. It should be very like small, it should be small movements, right? You shouldn't be like, destroying your training partner's knee, okay? So one more time. I know this is a lot of small details here, guys. but it's important to come up to the knee again. Yeah, so we're just gonna go through the whole thing. So again, guys, one more time. Standard Ashi, the knee is turned this way, okay? We're gonna return to this next, okay? I go here, my ankles are close together. Right? They don't have to be like completely parallel, but they're pretty close, so that my knees are lined up. Now I can pinch and lift my hips up, okay? Look, so right here, try to keep this strong. This is pretty weak, right? That feels way worse, right? Yeah, so when you pinch your knees, or rather if you connect your ankles, then pinch your knees and lift your hips, that's gonna be a lot stronger. And then we turn down, and remember guys, start with the false grip, okay? Start with the false grip, okay? This is gonna be much, much harder for him to slip out of. Now as we roll, look at my right elbow. It comes into my hip, and now I can catch the knee, okay? Now as I roll over my forehead, I compress my chest in, and now look, I've got a good bend. I'm pulling at this knee the whole time. Okay, so I've got a really good bend in the knee. I land with a good bend. I don't have to create one when we land here. Because the truth is, trying to create one when you land here is like, it's really, really hard. Okay, so now we're here. I'm gonna get my lateral heel hook finish. Okay, I take this hand, I slide down the shin, and I connect. I try to get my right forearm over his shin. Okay, now I round my shoulders out. I bring it close to his ankle. I can press my right leg down. And there's a very, very slight bridge in with the hips. Okay, make sense, guys? All right, let's get started. 1, 2, 3. So guys, now let's talk about the two different things that we looked at today, where you've got the reach to the far hip Ashi and the entrance to the bottom 50-50, okay? So they both start from this same standard Ashi, or single leg X position. Which of these you're going to choose is going to largely be dependent upon where his knee is pointing. Guys, and that's going to dictate whether you have access to the back of his knee. Okay? If he's turning this way, look, it's very easy for me to access the back of his knee, right? I can make contact with the back of his knee and therefore put pressure to it, okay? Remember, that's one of the main things we're looking for when we want to gain heel exposure, or like attack with leg locks against an upright person, right? If his knee is pointed out, so right now, where his knee is pointed out, all I can really do here is I can't effectively access the back of his knee to put pressure to it, right? Because it's pointed out. If you try to turn him here, it's really, really hard. Okay, you're probably not going to succeed. So a better option in that situation is to go to the 50-50 as we looked at before. Yeah, move here, just don't fall over, stay up, right? Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go here to a bottom 50-50. Now from the bottom 50-50, we're once again going to start thinking about how can we gain access to putting pressure to the back of his knee, okay? There's two main ways we can do this. We can go to the outside, or we can go to the inside. First, we're going to go outside because I think that's a little bit easier, and then we'll go inside. We're going to start off with a good ankle lock, okay? Now I'm going to extend my right leg and hide the heel just like I did before, where I point the back of the knee at his hips, okay? Now my left foot goes on his heel and torso, okay, just for now. Next, what it's going to do is it's going to pummel, and it's going to go to one of two places, okay? I'm going to give you guys the advantages of each. It can go to the front of the thigh, and then I rotate behind, or it can step on his hamstring, okay? The advantage of putting it to the front of the thigh is it's easier to rotate behind him, okay? The disadvantage is he can potentially pull it through and attack heel hooks of his own. Okay, so you see if I go here, it's easier to spin behind him, but he can pull it through, but potentially, right? The other option is, with my left foot, I step on the back of his hamstring. Now here, there's no way he's going to pull it through, obviously, but it's a little harder to spin behind him. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Let's just rotate this way. In both situations, what my goal is to take my body and rotate it to the outside like so. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right hand, that's an ankle lock, and I'm going to grab above the knee. Okay? Now I'm going to take this right foot, and I'm going to push his shoulders forward, and now I'm going to take my right leg, and I'm going to bring it over the top. If you have long enough legs, you might be able to just reach to the far hip, but if you're not, what I want you to do is just invert so you can put your foot to the front of the far hip. Okay, guys, don't do this. Don't like bridge into the side of the guy's knee here. That's not really good. What I want you to do is just turn a little bit. You can see how I brought my chest down right? If you have really long legs, you might not have to do that. But if you don't, you might have to. And then you can lock your legs, and you can gain access to a heel up, okay? And remember, guys, this is employing the same mechanic from the far hip Ashi, where it's pressure to the back of the knee that's giving me the opportunity to gain heel exposure, okay? So let's start from the beginning. So I'm in this bottom 50-50. I'm going to open up my legs and I hide the heel of my right leg. And I have my left foot on the torso first. Now, I'm going to take my left foot either to the front or to the back. The front's going to make this is kind of like the easier way to do it, if my foot's in front. But there's the count, right? So it's easier, but there's a count. It's going to make it a little harder, but there's no counter, okay? Now I grab the knee, and now I put pressure to the back of the knee. Make sure to lock your legs here, guys. Don't keep your legs open. It's too easy for him to pull his knee out and run away from it. So he pulls the knee out, yep, and gets away from it, right? You might be able to hold on to him with one leg, but it's harder. So if the knee's pointed away, we go here. If the knee's pointed out, we go here, okay? Now from here, remember guys, this in and of itself is not a great position to operate from. I want you guys to start passing the leg off to the other side, like so, okay? Now we hide the heel, okay? Now I take this foot, first it starts off here, then it's gonna go here, and rotate behind, grab the knee, chop over the top, bring your chest down as is necessary, and you catch the heel. Same as before, guys, when you catch the heel, I want you to focus on the palm coming down, okay, to start off. All right, and you lock up your legs. Don't worry about the finish yet. We'll do the inside heel hook finish much later on in the seminar. Okay, makes sense, guys? Do you want to see it?
I have one.
Oh, yeah, so Toom, I'll borrow you. So remember, the key distinction here is if the knee's out, you go far hip Ashi, okay? If the knee's this way, you're not going to be able to access the back of the knee. It's really, really hard. You go here, here, block with your legs, then you go underneath, you pass this off, like so, okay? We start off with an ankle lock grip, then we shift to this here, where I have the back of my knee facing either side, my toes are pointed, this is on its hip. I start to rotate, go here, or here, right? I'll just do this because I'm being lazy, then we go here. And now, look, if I can't get my foot to the front of our hip, look at my left foot. You see how I do that? So again, we're here. So guys, you turn a little down. Yeah. That's if I can't get this foot to the front of our hip, don't just like bridge hard into your training partner's knee. Just hold on, like with your hand. Now look at my left foot. It's gonna post on the floor. And I'm gonna go chest down and catch the heel. If I was doing, I'll come back. I let go of his knee. I mean, in real life, if I was doing this, I would not let go of the knee. But I'm trying not to bridge into his knee as I do this. That's why I'm doing that. But in real life, if this is like an actual match, I'm not gonna let go of that knee. But as you're doing it, I don't want to put, guys, you never want to put like strong pressure at the side of the knee as we do this stuff. That's why like I'm releasing here. But in real life, I'm just hold on to that. Okay, makes sense, guys? Yes? All right, let's just start. 1, 2, 3. All right, so when the knee's more turned this way, that's when we're going to go to the inside. Okay, I wanted to do that 1 second because I think this one is a little bit harder than the spin to the outside. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my, to keep a good base, let me stay strong. I'm going to take my right hand, I'm going to go at my own thigh. And now I'm going to lift my hips up and see how my elbow goes on the mat. Okay, it's just my elbow that's in contact with it. My hips are off the mat. My left hand's also on the mat. Basically my point is my hips are not on the mat. Okay? And I turn this way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop and reach for the other leg. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull, and oftentimes you're going to have to disconnect your legs. Not always. Sometimes your legs can stay connected, but sometimes you're not going to be able to pull with them connected. So what I do here is I go left hand on the thigh, right foot on the stomach. Why? Because if I keep this foot here, he can counter heel hook me, right? That's pretty bad. So I gotta go here, okay? And I can't just do this, because now he can just pull a leg up. So I've gotta grab it, okay? Now I'm gonna pull with my right hand. I'm gonna pull, and now once I get my head lined up, like right now it's not lined up with his legs. See how it's lined up with his legs? I'm not pulling anymore, I'm gonna push, and I go behind him, and you catch the heel hook. Okay, and you have a backside 50-50. So let's look at that again. So I'm here in this bottom 50-50. This time the knee is turned more this way. Think about it. Whenever he points the knee one way, he's giving you access to the back of his knee in one direction. Right here, if I try to gain access to the back of his knee in this direction, it's really hard, right? How am I going to get to the back of his knee? But instead I go this way. Yeah, look at that. Now, see how it's presenting itself to me in this direction? That's why I'm going this way. So I come up on this elbow, I drop and I reach for that far leg. I grab the knee here, I put my foot on his stomach. Now, I pull with my right arm until I'm lined up with him, and then I'm gonna push. And you catch the heel. If he backsteps, basically what's happening there is, remember, he wants there to be minimal space behind the back of his knee, because that's going to relieve pressure from the back of his knee. So sometimes what happens there happens all the time. So you get there, and then you have only a brief moment where you have pressure to the back of his knee where you can gain heel exposure. Well, they're probably going to try to relieve the pressure to the back of the knee. So if they backstep, that's what they're doing. The next step is to get your feet in front of him so you can start actually finishing the heel hook. But we'll turn to that later on. Okay. So let's come back again. All the way? Yeah. No, this way. Good. Okay, so we're here, guys. This hand, I'm gripping my thigh. I want my hips as high as I can get it so I can reach that, right? It's really hard to do, like, if my arm's down here. If I'm like this, now I can reach much more easily. My left hand grabs so he can't pull this out. I start by pulling, but now I push. I catch, and if he backs up, he backs up. Just hold the knee and just keep your foot on his torso. It's very similar to the outside heel, okay? Make sense, guys? Yes? Good. So, two, I'll use you to show. See how my hips are off the mat? Reach. And some of those guys will have to kick with this left leg. Okay, now once I'm lined up, I'm not pulling anymore. I'm going to push, and now I can catch the backside 50-50 heel hook. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes? All right, good. All right, let's get started, guys. 1, 2, 3.